This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Queenpin 2.0, Part 13. When we left off, Tru was explaining to the Queen Mother how she ended up in Venezuela multiple times and how Lil Jose ended up in the US twice. But something about the way the Queen Mother was asking the questions made Tru think she already knew some of the answers. Tru said, I know you're asking the questions and we're answering them, but can I ask you a question? The Queen Mother said, sure. Tru asked, how much of this do you already know and how? The Queen Mother chuckled and said, little girl, I'll never show my cards. Let's just say I've been there and done that. Got a t-shirt and a shot glass. And the biblical adage that there is nothing new under the sun is absolutely correct, because God ain't wasting no ink. While I can't reveal my sources, I will say that your best friend, your sister, intends on being the head of the Lopez family. And your Cody here, she said while looking at Salima, is doing everything in her power except the right thing to become the head of the Baptiste family. And you, my dear, are the key that will unlock those doors for them. Well, you in solid marriages. See, a competent head is an absolute necessity. But his or her right hand has to be 10 steps ahead of the leader and everything going on around the leader. Tru and Salima looked at each other and said, Marley. Big Wood said, come on, Salima. You of all people should have known the whole time you were watching the Venezuelans. Marley was watching all of y'all. The Queen Mother said, now, of course, he had to allow things to play out. He couldn't get too close. And he certainly wasn't reporting back to me, because I wouldn't have allowed you all to screw this up the way you did. Salima and Tru looked at Big Wood, and he said, nah, don't look at me. The Queen Mother said, now you know it couldn't have been him, Tru. You engaged in self-sabotage, remember? Salima said, it was Q. When the Queen Mother said nothing, Salima said, I heard Pops Andy's message to his children. Almost everything that he said to Q was code. I should know. When my father's trying to give me a message in front of other people, he talks the same way. So does Uncle Manny. I'm just surprised that Donovan didn't peep it. Tru said, well, what was the message? Uncle Andy told Q to keep his eye on all of us and not to let us out of his sight. And the Queen Mother said, and he did just that. Tru said, how? He couldn't be everywhere at once. The Queen Mother said, and that is where I stopped answering questions. What the Queen Mother didn't tell them, and only LJ and Woody knew, was that Q didn't just own a PI firm, but he'd made millions developing technology that was in use by the U.S. government, international governments, and several criminal organizations, including the Baptiste, Charles, St. James, and Lopez families. And while he'd built in lots of protections to prevent that technology from being hacked, he'd ensured that he could get in and out of any system that he developed undetected. So after the memorial service, Q bugged items of Donovan's that he knew he would never be without. Since he no longer had direct access to Donovan, he had Big Wood keep an eye on him. And one day, when Donovan had gone to see Rennie at the hotel, and they decided to go take a swim in the hotel pool, Big Wood broke into Rennie's hotel room. He bugged Donovan's presidential, his favorite running shoes, his luggage, and his go bag. And Donovan, super observant behind, noticed that one of his sneakers was slightly askew when he and Rennie returned to the room. He was adamant that somebody had been in that room messing with his stuff. Rennie said, Donovan, you're paranoid. Now, I know you bipolar, but I didn't know your behind was a paranoid schizophrenic too. Donovan said, don't be diagnosing me with additional mental illnesses. I know how I left my things. I am very particular. Rennie said, oh, I know. Dealing with you is like walking over dormant landmines. Touch something of yours and you lose it. Donovan said, well, dealing with you is like biting into a lemon. Rennie said, how? Donovan said, cause you bitter as hell. Rennie said, well, you act like somebody switched the sugar for salt in your coffee. Donovan said, what? Rennie said, you salty as hell. Then they both dissolved into laughter, and Donovan said, and you corny as hell. And Rennie said, and you freaky as hell. And then Donovan forgot all about his sneakers not being lined up. He and Rennie proceeded to screw one another's brains out. A few days later, Donovan was driving with his children in his vehicle when a warning light came on the console. Out of an abundance of caution, he pulled over to see what the heck was going on. And almost immediately, a car pulled up behind him. When he looked in the rearview mirror, he saw that it was Q. He got out, and when Q got out and approached him, before Donovan could say a word, Q said, "I know what you've been up to, D. I don't like it, but I know I don't get to control how you live. Be careful. Stay safe. And if you ever need help, I'm just one phone call away, bro." Donovan said, "Whatever, nigga. I don't need your help. And I don't need you looking over my shoulder either." Q said, "Of course you don't." And then he turned and walked away. He stopped and turned back around and said, "One more thing. Don't make LJ your enemy. The same way we don't play about Anya, he don't play about his sisters." Donovan said, "We both grown and we both know what it is. If LJ got questions, tell him to come see me." Q said, "Don't be a damn jerk. You involved with that man's sister, go have a conversation with him." Then Q returned to his car and drove off. When Donovan got back in the car with his kids and turned the car back on, the warning light was off. At that moment, Donovan realized that his big brother had tapped into the motherboard of his luxury vehicle, triggered the warning signal, and then initiated their interaction. He did not just happen to be driving down the same street at the same time, and he wasn't just tracking him. So Donovan concluded that it was probably a good idea for him to go ahead and make that phone call to LJ. When the two met up later on, LJ told Donovan, "I told my sister to stay away from you a long time ago, but she's grown now, and I can't stop her from doing whatever it is she wants to do. But you've been like a brother to me, and you of all people should know just how hard Rennie has worked just to be herself again." Donovan said, "You're right, I do. But I also know that I haven't seen her this happy in a long time." LJ said, "And I don't want her with you or working for the families. But if that's what's making her happy, who am I to deny her that?" Donovan said, "What you want from me, L?" LJ said, "I want you to take care of my sister, D. Don't make her life hard. Don't make my life hard. Don't make me make your life hard." Donovan said, "I'm not, man. She's a wonderful woman. And the great thing is that we actually like each other. We always have. And the best part is we on the same page. We understand where the other is, and neither of us is looking for more than the other is willing to give." When LJ raised an eyebrow, Donovan said, "I wouldn't do anything to your sister that I wouldn't want anybody to do to mine. Believe me, you ain't got to threaten me either. I actually do care about her. Plus, we both know your sister is nuts. I mean, she good right now. Knowing the kind of damage that she could do to my life is more than enough to keep me from playing with her mind or her heart. Rennie is a force to be reckoned with." LJ laughed and said, "As long as you know, if you trip, she gonna trip. And then we all gonna be tripping." Donovan laughed and LJ said, "But here's the thing. Rennie and Tru are two sides of the same coin. And if they're gonna be in this game, they need somebody that's watching their back. Tru's been a part of my family for almost as long as Angela and Stephanie have been. If something were to happen to her, it would be on me to look her parents and her sisters in the eye." Donovan said, "I got Rennie, and Big Wood got Tru." LJ said, "Nah, Big Wood is out of the loop. That didn't quite work out. You're going to have to be my eyes and my ears with both of them." Donovan said, "I got you, L." And then he kept LJ informed about the whereabouts of Rennie and Tru. At the round table, the Queen Mother asked Tru, "So what exactly happened when Lil Jose showed up with that 250K? When Tru paused, the Queen Mother said, "You want to discuss it in private?" Tru looked at Big Wood, and so did the Queen Mother. Big Wood said, "I already know. Go ahead and lay it out, little mama." Tru took a deep breath and said, "Well, there was a plan A and a plan B. Plan A included kidnapping Lil Jose in the States, forcing Big Jose to double-cross the Morenas, and backing them into a corner until they either offed or released Jira. The Queen Mother said, "Horrible plan." Woody and Tru looked at Selima, because that was her plan. Then Tru said, and plan B was to make him fall in love with Yael. The Queen Mother just stared at Big Wood. 2 months earlier, when Lil Jose arrived in Dallas, Tru did not give him the impression that she was eager to get her hands on that money. But she did make it clear that she was eager to spend time with her man. Like the first time, she showed him a good time, did outdoorsy things with him because she knew that's what he was into, and she even cooked for him. A few days into the trip, Yael got a phone call from her employer, and Tru said, "I need to go and meet with my charges family. I've been trying to help them find my replacement and finalizing my notice. It hasn't been easy for them to find someone that they trust, and I have a feeling that they're going to ask me to stay on a little longer or to at least be a backup, just in case the person that they hire gets sick or needs time off." And I'm apt to agree. I love that baby, and they're a good family. Lil Jose said, "I understand. I'm not asking you to give up your whole life. And I thought about what you asked for, and I brought it with me." Tru said, "Okay. Well, they want to meet with me, and I'm going to head over there, and I'll be back shortly." Then Tru left Lil Jose in her condo, where he took advantage of the opportunity to remove all of the bugs that he placed in the condo. When Tru returned, she told him that they'd agreed on a candidate and that candidate would start the following week, that she'd agreed to fill in for the woman, and she'd also agreed to take her job back if things didn't work out with the woman, and help them find another replacement. Lil Jose said, "I was really hoping that you would go back with me to Venezuela when I leave in a day or so." Tru said, "I was hoping for that too, but she has some things that she needs to wrap up, and that's the soonest she can start. But how about we make the best of the time that you have left here?" And then Tru kissed Lil Jose passionately, shyly and gently and slowly disrobed Lil Jose while taking her time, giving every part of his body loving attention. And Lil Jose was in heaven. He was bursting at the seams. It had literally been months since he'd been with a woman, and it was the longest he'd gone without at least a one-night stand, a late-night creep, or a hookup. Tru had his nose wide open, and the way she was putting her foreplay game down was just so innocent and timid that Lil Jose was convinced that Yael was as inexperienced and into him as she claimed. By the time she got down south, Lil Jose was practically tearing at the sheets. And while Tru had proven with Big Wood that she had a deep throat and no gag reflex, she was holding back with Lil Jose. So she had him feeling like he was the man, a big man, and she was doing the best she could while choking and gagging, not wanting her to hurt herself. Lil Jose pulled Tru up and then showed her once again what his mouth did. And when he'd taken her around and around on the merry-go-round, a time or two or three, Tru gave him what he was waiting for. She said, "I want to feel you, Poppy." And Lil Jose said, "You sure you ready?" Tru said, "Yes, I can't hold out any longer." And Lil Jose fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. When he tried to enter with no glove, Tru said, "Hold on, wait a minute. That isn't something that I'm prepared to do with a man who isn't my husband." Lil Jose said, "I thought you trusted me." Yael said, "That's not about trust, honey. There are consequences and repercussions that come along with that. Responsibilities and a level of commitment that we don't have." Lil Jose said, "I should have known that a woman like you would have standards for herself. What was I thinking?" Impressed, he climbed up off her and said, "Well, I'm assuming you don't have any condoms." And Tru said, "No, but I'm sure that Nikki does." And then she went into Nikki's room, where she'd stashed some condoms for this very purpose, came back with several, and handed them to Lil Jose. And when Lil Jose cracked the seal, Tru demonstrated why all women should practice those Kegels. She clamped that muscle down, and Lil Jose wasn't sure if he was entering a virgin or what. Rubber and all, he still was way too close to the edge. He said, yeah. God damn. Round one was over shortly after it begun, and while Tru had gotten very little out of that exchange, she was good though, because she'd gotten what she came for. She'd gotten Lil Jose absolutely sprung.